Chapter 1940-41 Phoenix 1. Zhang Yi raised his hand, and a huge dimensional door opened in the sky. The spear of Longinus fell from the sky and fiercely suppressed the body of Tyrant Jedi. Boom! Tyrant Jedi's body was heavily crushed into the ground, as if a cemetery was erected in the wilderness, and the spear of Longinus was the tombstone. The black smoke was gradually swallowed up, and Tyrant Jedi's voice could no longer be heard from underground. "His pillar is a seal," the ghost-faced nun screamed, and her tone was also full of fear. "So what?" The golden-armored giant's tone was not impressed. "The purple-skinned lizard is not as strong as the human boy, and it deserves to lose. Even when he was alive, he could not be his opponent." "It's my turn next." After he finished speaking, he walked forward and came to meet Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi has never ignored them. "Are you alone? Why don't you come together?" Zhang Yi's eyes swept over all the dead souls. His eyes were stern. The golden-armored giant sneered, "Ha! We are already dead souls, existing in this place where we can never be freed. We are sinking in endless pain. Do you think we will lose even the last bit of pride?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "It seems that if I want to leave this place, I must defeat all of you. By the way, will you show me the way?" The golden-armored giant said coldly, "Do you really think that you can defeat all of us if you can defeat that purple-skinned lizard? It's ridiculous. My strength is far superior to his." He stretched out his arm and said to Zhang Yi, "You just fought a battle. I won't take advantage of others. Now I will give you time to recover. When you adjust your condition, we will fight again. Don't worry, we have a lot of time."
Zhang Yi didn't need to rest.
He was still in excellent condition at this time. He nodded. "Okay, I admire your strong demeanor. Although you don't need to rest, you shouldn't be too stubborn. When the battery of the mobile phone is 99%, it will be safer to fully charge it." Zhang Yi skillfully took out a chair and sat down. "Why not sit on the sofa? This is particular. Because you can't let your body relax during the intervals between battles, otherwise it will seriously affect the state of the next battle." It seems that Zhang Yi is resting, but in fact he is discussing the next tactics with Yang Xinxin and others. This guy looks like a lizard man. He should be an Yihuan tribe from the same era as the Wulwan Empire or the Qinling Dragon Clan. The strength of this race lies in their advanced intelligence, strong physical fitness, and powerful supernatural powers. Since this guy dared to come to the Demon's Eye, he must be a leader of the Yihuan tribe. Perhaps he entered this place at the end of the last human era. He saw my battle with the purple dragon just now. I was reserved, but exposed my spatial ability. Since he dared to fight, it means he has a way to deal with me. I must retain more than 80% of my state while fighting him to deal with other ghosts." Kant looked thoughtful in the shadow. After listening to Zhang Yi's analysis, he said, "It looks like they're going to fight a round-robin battle. This is very disadvantageous for you. Lao Zhang, I think in order to allow you to retain enough strength, we can take the opportunity to act from the dark and disrupt his state." Yang Xinxin spoke up to oppose his proposal. "You can't do this. Don't forget that the dead souls can't be killed. There are 5 powerful dead souls roaming the battlefield nearby. Even if we all attack, the chances of winning are not particularly high. I think we should follow the opponent's rules first and test the opponent's strength. Unless," her eyes flashed with wisdom, cunning, "it won't be too late for us to attack when my brother's battle begins to be difficult." Kant frowned, but the longer the battle lasts, the more Lao Zhang's ability will be exposed. And they can find loopholes in Lao Zhang's ability nearby. I'm afraid that this will be disadvantageous to him. Zhang Yi has already made up his mind. "It doesn't matter. There are so many people who know my ability, but knowing it doesn't mean they can break my ability. What's more," he smiled, "aren't you also in the dark? Just do as Xinxin said." Kant's eyes sank, and then he showed a helpless expression and spread his hands. "Well, since you insist on doing this, we certainly respect your idea." Yang Xinxin glanced at Kant, then naturally moved her eyes away, concentrating on observing what was happening outside through the smart device on Zhang Yi. The golden-armored giant stood far away on the wasteland, with a long road between them. He was very patient, with his strong arms around him, and did not urge Zhang Yi. After resting for a while, Zhang Yi adjusted his body to the best state. After confirming his blood oxygen concentration and heart rate, Zhang Yi stood up and put away his chair. "I'm ready." He smiled and waved to the golden-armored giant. "It's time to start." The golden-armored giant loosened his arms, and suddenly an extremely hot power emanated from his body, and the blood-stained golden armor burst into a dazzling light. The space seemed to be distorted, which was the change in light caused by the airflow generated by the high temperature. Under his feet, the ground quickly cracked, and the cracks became golden red. Gulp. The scorching magma flowed in the cracks, quickly spreading around, and soon came to Zhang Yi's feet. Zhang Yi retreated quickly, and the entire land centered on the golden giant turned into a resurrected crater, with magma gradually engulfing everything. "A user with fire attribute ability?" Zhang Yi murmured. "No, it won't be that simple." After seeing that Tyrant's lightning ability was suppressed in front of him, this pure release type ability user would not be stupid enough to come and fight with him. So, he must have other special abilities. "Before we officially start, I would like to ask, what is your name?" "Name?" The golden giant lowered his head as if thinking, then shook his head. "It's been too long. I've forgotten it, just like that purple-skinned lizard. Just call me the immortal bird." As soon as the words fell, the immortal bird no longer intended to continue to argue with Zhang Yi. Because he held up the golden giant sword with both hands, and bright red stripes emerged on the golden sword body, surging in the mottled state, like flowing magma. "Cry." Zhang Yi heard a loud and clear bird cry coming from the phoenix, and suddenly a huge flame bird flew out from the rolling magma behind him. The whole body was burning with raging flames, with a gorgeous phoenix crown and 3 beautiful tail feathers, very similar to the phoenix in the mythology of Huashu country, but with obvious differences. More ferocious, more perverse. The phoenix wrapped around the phoenix, making huge flaming wings grow on his back, and the golden giant sword in his hand also turned into a lava sword. He raised the giant sword, and the muscles in his arms swelled up, several times thicker and longer than Zhang Yi's thighs, almost equal to his waist. This kind of body full of violent aesthetics makes people imagine that he is a warrior from the ancient times who advocates brute force. "Neither fire nor brute force can have a decisive impact on me." Zhang Yi held a hand cannon in his left hand and a magic knife in his right hand. He was protected by Sinluo Wanxiang, and his body was blessed with the magic armor. He used the ability of Time Second Hand to predict everything that would happen in the next 4 seconds. He pulled his own state to the maximum. Although his ability index has only reached 35,000 points, his real combat power is definitely comparable to the Black Bishop with 40,000 points. There is no way, there are too many plugins. If he had not had such confidence, he would not have come to this desperate place. "Come on, let me see what kind of strength the warriors of ancient times had." Zhang Yi did not choose to take the initiative to attack, but deliberately lured the other party to attack first. This is easy to judge the true strength of the other party and whether there are any hidden abilities. The eyes of the phoenix stared at Zhang Yi deeply. He opened his mouth and suddenly took a breath. Whew! This breath was like a hurricane, making the surrounding air pressure extremely low. The hot air was inhaled into his abdomen in large quantities, which could be called a storm inhalation, causing a long wind. This breath lasted for more than 10 seconds, and Zhang Yi was immediately suspicious. What is he going to do? At this time, Liang Yu's voice suddenly rang in Zhang Yi's ears. No, this phoenix is using the breathing method. Zhang Yi, be careful of him. You have met a powerful character. Breathing method? Zhang Yi suddenly remembered what Liang Yu had said to him before. Zhang Yi learned all his martial arts from Liang Yu. As the martial arts master of Huashu country, Liang Yu can be said to have reached the pinnacle of martial arts skills in the world. She once said that martial artists pay attention to internal training of one breath. The longer the breath, the stronger the qi. Within the time of a breath of strength, one can exert one's own strength to a great level. Disappointed comes from. But looking at the phoenix, the content of his breath is simply too high. A powerful warrior in ancient times? Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes and looked at the phoenix in the center of magma and storm. So what? Soon, he knew what would happen. After the phoenix finished breathing, it finally made a move. When he moved, the magma of the earth was like an erupting flame, entwined around him and his sword. The sky was filled with magma, and a huge vortex with a radius of hundreds of meters formed around him, and this vortex was constantly expanding. The phoenix spread its wings, and he rushed over at a speed as fast as lightning, like a fleeting light, and in an instant he was close to Zhang Yi. Sorry, there was an error loading the chapter content. We were unable to successfully load the chapter content. We were unable to successfully load the chapter or refresh the page. Because https://www.lancezhang.com. Zhang Yi stared at the giant in front of him. Only half of the remaining 10,000 things could form a dense defense in front of him. He wanted to see how this person could break his defense. At this moment, he saw the eyes of the phoenix. How should he describe those eyes? There was no hesitation in the dark eyes, only the strong belief that he would overcome everything. This sword came against the wind, carrying the magma like a torrent, and cut it down with one sword. Zhang Yi's 10,000 things was like nothing and was directly chopped into pieces by the giant sword, unable to resist it. Zhang Yi's pupils shrank suddenly, and he immediately raised the magic knife in his hand to resist. In an instant, the giant sword smashed on the magic knife. I thought that with the blessing of the magic armor, Zhang Yi could block this attack, but even through the armor, the recoil force still made Zhang Yi feel that his arm was about to break. Bang! He was chopped and flew out with his sword, and fell heavily into the sea of magma.
Shwa.
Zhang Yi regained consciousness and looked at the phoenix in the distance, holding a sword and killing him, and his heart was alarmed. Time secondhand, everything he just saw shocked him. He did not find any special superpowers released, just an ordinary sword, but it made his defense a joke. He no longer chose to defend, but took the initiative to attack. He raised the magic knife in his hand, and a series of sharp blade lights slashed forward through the magic knife. The dark blade light is the energy of antimatter, with the power to annihilate everything. The phoenix was not afraid at all. Although the giant sword in his hand was huge, it did not seem heavy when wielded. The magma rose from the earth like a tsunami, forming a thick wall to block Zhang Yi's attack. Zhang Yi fired his left-hand cannon and asked Liang Yu, "I just saw him break my defense with just a sword." Liang Yu, what's going on? The most powerful alien he had ever seen was Li Changgong, but even Li Changgong's "I am God's will" had to pass through his dimensional door to attack him. How could the person in front of him be as terrifying as him? He only used a sword to tear his dimensional door apart. This power was so strong that Zhang Yi even doubted whether the opponent's strength had reached the level of a knight. However, in the subsequent confrontation process, he found that this was not the case. After listening to Zhang Yi's narration, Liang Yu pondered for a moment and then answered. Sincerity can move metal. What do you mean? This is the highest realm in martial arts, and even I can't reach it now. This is a realm that is more difficult than the unity of man and nature. In other words, he has 100% confidence in his own strength and sword edge. He firmly believes that his sword can unfold everything. In this case, he can exert 100% of his potential power. Zhang Yi suddenly understood. It's similar to deep hypnosis, stimulating potential, right? Yes. Liang Yu answered. Yang Xinxin added. However, there is another explanation from the perspective of the spirit. He has the belief to break through everything, which is equivalent to concentrating the power of his own mind. The essence of all supernatural powers is our mind, as the carrier of the spirit. He concentrates his power on one point, so he naturally has the ability to be invincible. Dear viewers, thanks for staying with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.